My name is Rachel. Welcome back to my channel and welcome to another reading vlog. And today's vlog is going to be for Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix by J.K. Rowling. For those of you guys that don't know, I have been doing a series here on my channel where I have been rereading the Harry Potter series for the very first time, and so I wanted to document my experience with all of you. Between this book and Half-Blood Prince, those are the two books that I probably remember the least about. Like I said, I've only read all these books once, and I've also only watched the movies for Order of the Phoenix and Half-Blood Prince like once or twice that I can recall. So there's not a whole lot that I remember from the main plot of this book, except that there is an Order of the Phoenix. And that's basically it. And I remember Professor Umbridge being awful, and that's really all I remember. So I'm really looking forward to this reread. I have read a chunk of this so far. So the edition that I have, this is a Bloomsbury edition. I think this was released back in like 2014. The edition that I have has 800 pages, so this is probably, I think, the longest book of the series, so I'm definitely in for quite a commitment with this one. But so far, I am on page 126, and that is Chapter 8, The Hearing. So basically, so far in the book, Harry has had to use magic outside of school because two Dementors attacked him and Dudley. So he had to use the Patronus charm, and he was sent a letter that he was being expelled from Hogwarts, but Dumbledore stepped in, and so now he's basically being brought in for like a disciplinary hearing to see what the consequences are for him using magic outside of school, even though he had to do it to survive. There is one thing that I want to discuss. So towards the very beginning of the book, basically Aunt Petunia and Uncle Vernon want to kick Harry out of the house because he's attracting Lord Voldemort and these Dementors to their neighborhood and to their house. But Aunt Petunia gets this howler, and the howler says, "Remember my last, Petunia." And it's just an awful voice, and Harry doesn't know who this is, but Petunia obviously knows who it is, and she's the one that's like, no, he has to stay here after she gets this howler. I have no idea who sent this. I'm very curious to see what the story is with that howler. Also, from earlier clips in this vlog, yesterday was my birthday. I turned 27. And so I did want to include little clips from my day yesterday. I got to see Frozen 2, and I got birthday donuts. I'm a little conflicted about my feelings with Frozen 2. I don't know if you guys want me to talk about those opinions here, because that's not what this vlog is about. But in the end, I do think the first movie is better. I think for me personally, Frozen 2 was just too slow paced the entire time. The movie's about an hour and 45 minutes, but I felt like I was sitting there a lot longer, so that's kind of my main gripe. But at the same time, I think it's a visually stunning movie, and I loved seeing these characters again. So I mean, you know, there's definitely pros and cons. Do I recommend it? Yes, because some people have said that they prefer this one over the first one, but at the same time, there are people like me who preferred the first one. So, you know, I do recommend seeing it for yourself to see which one you would like more. And then today I did kind of redo like my filming nook. As you can see, there's like Christmas garland here. And so I filmed clips of that as well. So with that being said, that's going to be it for this first update, and I will talk to you guys. Hey everyone, it is Tuesday evening. I didn't really feel the need to vlog at all yesterday because I was just kind of working on this book and didn't really have much to say. But I do have some thoughts now that I want to discuss. But first, I thought I would also talk a little bit about the other book that I'm reading at the moment, and that is Before the Devil Breaks You by Libba Bray. For those of you guys that don't know, I tend to read two books at the same time because I read one physical book, and right now that is Order of the Phoenix, and then I listen to one audiobook, and so that is this book. And yeah, this is book 3 in the Diviners series. I already know that I love this series so much. I feel like I can't shut up about this series, but basically if the 1920s and paranormal and fantastical elements and kind of science fiction elements appeal to you, definitely check out this series if you haven't yet. So yeah, this is the audiobook that I am currently listening to. I'm about like 40% of the way through at this point, and yeah, loving this. So as far as Order of the Phoenix goes, I am currently on page 408, that is chapter 21, The Eye of the Snake. And I'm just a little bit past the halfway mark, and I do have a few things that I want to discuss with you guys. So I'm just looking at my notes app because basically while I'm reading, if a thought comes to my mind, I just quickly type it up in here so that I do not forget to talk about it. The first thing I have on here is I love that Harry gives Fred and George the prize money that he won from the Triwizard Tournament. I just think that is so awesome, so that they can start their joke shop and really get their lives and their careers going. Then I also took a note of, I completely forgot this, like I don't even remember this being a thing in the film, although I've only watched the movie a couple of times, but Ron is made a prefect, and like, what? Like, I totally understand Hermione being a prefect, but why Ron? I mean, maybe that'll get explained, but like, Ron is just such an average student at Hogwarts. Like, he's not like particularly like a bad student or a troublemaker, but he's also not like the perfect student, and I feel like there are other boys in their year that could have been made prefect. I don't think Harry should be made prefect. I definitely agree that that should not have happened, but I just don't really understand Ron being made prefect, but I mean, okay. So I do want to talk about Professor Umbridge a little bit because I remember watching this YouTube video. If I can remember to go find it, I'll link it down below, but I remember this guy was like ranking different villains in literature, and he ranked Voldemort lower than Umbridge, and his argument was quite compelling when you think about it, because yes, Voldemort's awful and he kills all these people, and you know, he wants purity of blood and all of these things, but Umbridge in some ways is kind of worse. Like the way that she like takes over Hogwarts and is just like so oppressive to the students and doesn't want them to learn how to defend themselves. I think that's just incredibly dangerous. And the fact that like in that detention, you know, she makes Harry use like this special quill that when he writes, it like carves the words into his hand, which is just so like gross and awful. So yeah, I don't know, she's like the worst, and I think in some ways she's a more compelling villain than Voldemort. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts about the two of these villains in this story, because I think that in some ways it's kind of unfortunate that Umbridge is kind of taken out of the story so soon, because as far as I can remember, she's only in this one book. And I don't know, I think she brings up an interesting conflict in the story. I'm on page 345 of my edition that I'm reading, and basically Harry, Ron, and Hermione are all talking to Sirius via the fireplace, and all of a sudden he vanishes, Sirius vanishes, and it says, Hermione gave a horrified gasp and leapt to her feet, still staring at the fire. A hand had appeared amongst the flames, groping as though to catch hold of something. A stubby, short-fingered hand covered in ugly, old-fashioned rings. The three of them ran for it. At the door of the boys' dormitory, Harry looked back. Umbridge's hand was still making snatching movements amongst the flames, as though she knew exactly where Sirius's hair had been moments before and was determined to seize it. And I literally put WTF. And when that happened, I literally sat back for a few seconds and was just like jaw dropped. Like, that is so creepy. Like, this is just another compelling case for why Umbridge is just like the worst. Like, how does she know that these things are happening, and like what is even happening? Like, I just, wow, that was like just such a shocking moment. I had to put a green tab for that. Green tabs are what I use for like shocking or like surprising moments or scenes. At this point of the story, they have kind of formed Dumbledore's army and they have all started to meet, and Harry is kind of their leader and is helping them hone their defensive skills. And yeah, I'm just loving where the story is going. So yeah, with that being said, I will talk to you guys later. Okay, what's up guys? So I thought it would be cool to film some like time-lapse footage of me shelving books because I have quite a few to shelve. So for one thing, I have this box right here that's like piled filled with books, and then over on like this book cart, the bottom two shelves of books actually need to be shelved. The top shelf is what I use as like a TBR shelf, but all of these books need to be shelved. Hey guys, what's up? It is Thursday afternoon. I feel like it's been quite a while since I've updated you guys, and I am quite a bit further in Order of the Phoenix. So I'm on page 703. That is chapter 34, The Department of Mystery. So I am just about 100 pages out from the end, and usually at this point I would just kind of wait till I finish the book and then do an update for you guys, but I already have quite a few things that I want to discuss with you guys before I finish the book, so that's why I'm updating you guys now. The first thing I wanted to discuss is how much I just love Neville. Like, I just feel so bad for him in this book, because this is when we see his parents at St. Mungo's, because basically Harry, Ron, and Hermione run into Neville and Neville's grandmother when they're leaving the ward that Neville's parents are in. You know, so we really see firsthand like how this affects Neville, and it's just so sad. I love Neville so much. He is definitely one of my favorite characters in the entire series, and I kind of wish he was featured more. I mean, he's featured quite a bit, but I can't have enough Neville, what can I say? So Rita Skeeter does come back into the story in this book, and basically Hermione blackmails her into writing a very truthful article about Harry and his experience, you know, in the graveyard and Cedric's death and Voldemort actually being back, because the whole plot of this book is basically that nobody believes Harry and Dumbledore when they say that Voldemort's back, especially the Ministry of Magic. So they're not going to get it published in the Daily Prophet, so they actually get it published in the Quibbler, which is a magazine that Luna Lovegood's dad edits. And I found this whole situation to be very interesting because in this article, Harry calls out all of these Death Eaters that he saw at the graveyard, and you would think that like there would be more consequences to that. Like, I feel like there's no like confrontations about, you know, what Harry has said, and you would think also that these accused Death Eaters would, you know, come out of the woodwork and deny that they're Death Eaters. Although I'm sure Voldemort would be very pissed if any of them tried to deny that they're Death Eaters. So that's probably why they stay kind of, you know, incognito. Also, I wanted to discuss Dumbledore's escape. I didn't realize how dramatic his like escape is from Hogwarts, basically, because at this point, you know, Dumbledore's kind of forced to claim responsibility for, you know, the group of students that became Dumbledore's army, and, you know, he has this big confrontation with Cornelius Fudge, and so they want to arrest Dumbledore and, you know, take him away as headmaster, but instead he attacks Fudge and Umbridge and just leaves, and nobody knows where he is. And that's just like such a crazy scene, because we really get a taste of what Dumbledore was like when he was younger, you know, when he was, you know, fighting Grindelwald and things like that. Like, we really get to see Dumbledore just really stand up for himself. Okay, so Fred and George drop out of Hogwarts because basically they're just like tired of Umbridge's shit. She becomes headmistress and she's just the worst. And I remembered Fred and George like playing pranks on her and like on the school, but I did not remember them just straight up dropping out. I love that scene when they get their brooms and they just fly off into the sunset and leave everything behind. It's just like so fun and so epic. There's this chapter where Snape is teaching Harry occlumency? Yes, occlumency. I don't know why that's so difficult for me to say. But basically Snape has to leave his office to go deal with something for Umbridge, and so Harry is very curious. He sees Snape's pensieve, and he goes in and he sees this memory of James, his father, bullying Snape, and it really affects Harry. And I just find this whole situation just so interesting because in the series thus far, all of these people have been raving about how wonderful of a person James was, as well as Harry's mother Lily. And then in this scene, we're seeing that James was actually a bully, and I mean, in some ways kind of worse than Malfoy, because Malfoy doesn't like jinx people just for the hell of it. Like, yes, Malfoy is like mean to people. He's not quite that combative. Oh, I think it's Lily asks James, why Snape? Why do you keep going after him? Because Lily actually stands up for Snape in this memory scene, and James just says something along the lines of, well, it's just that he exists, really. And I don't know, I thought that there was like more bad blood between like the two of them. Is that really it? Does he just bully him for the hell of it? Like, yikes. I just think it's interesting that J.K. Rowling decided to show this side of Harry's father. And Harry does confront Lupin and Sirius about it, and they try to explain, you know, that James got better. You know, he was 15 in that memory. He does get better, and then eventually Lily does date him because he's a much better person by the time they graduate from Hogwarts. But it's just like really sad that his father was kind of an asshole, and like that's really the only way that Harry has like seen his father from the past. He hasn't gotten to see James be a really good person. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it for this reading update. I have to go to work in a couple of hours, and when I get home tonight, I will definitely finish this book because, like I said, I only have like 100 pages left. Things are getting real in this book right now. Basically, Harry and the whole crew, they found the Thestrals so that they can try to save Sirius, who has basically basically been taken hostage by Voldemort and is getting tortured by Voldemort in the Department of Mysteries. I know that finishing this book is going to be really bittersweet tonight because obviously something really tragic happens that I don't want to talk about yet, but be warned that I will be talking about all of the spoilers. I already kind of have been talking about spoilers. Yeah, that's going to be it for now, and I will talk to you guys later. Hey guys, what's up? It is Friday afternoon. I finished Order of the Phoenix last night, so I wanted to kind of wrap up my thoughts about the book and finish out this reading vlog so that I can finish editing it and post it for you guys tomorrow morning. So there are a couple of things that I want to bring up first before I give you like my overall thoughts. One is Sirius's death. I do not remember his death being so fast. I don't remember how it is in the movie, but this death reminded me a lot of Cedric's because it just happened so fast. We had no time to react. We had no time to really like build up to it. Essentially they were all in the Department of Mysteries, you know, fighting Death Eaters, and, you know, Sirius, Lupin, Tonks, like they all show up to help Dumbledore and Harry. And I don't know, all of a sudden Bellatrix and Sirius are dueling, and then right away she kills him. And yeah, like it's just a very shocking moment, and it's just another one of those character deaths that I'm sure at the time when this book first came out people were probably shocked about, because it's just, wow, it's just so crazy. And then another moment that I wanted to bring up, because I referenced this earlier in the vlog, is the howler that Aunt Petunia receives at the beginning of the book. So basically Dumbledore sent it, and I kind of had a feeling that he did, but at the same time the howler's voice didn't sound like Dumbledore, so I was confused about that, and I thought that if Dumbledore had sent it, like Harry would have recognized his voice or something like that. But yeah, so Dumbledore basically sent it to remind Petunia of, you know, the letter that Dumbledore sent her way back in the day when he sent Harry to stay with them in the first place. That's it for discussion points. As far as my overall thoughts about this book, I do think that overall this book is a little long. And I think that the pacing could be better as well. What I do love about this book is the whole Dumbledore's army plot line, and I love Professor Umbridge as a villain. I think she just makes such a compelling antagonist. I just love to hate her, you know? There were also a couple of little plot lines here and there that I didn't think were the most necessary, like with Hagrid going to the Giants with Madame Maxime, and then him bringing his half-brother Grop back, and he's now living in the Forbidden Forest, and so Hagrid's taking care of him. And I mean, maybe that comes into play more in the final two books. I can't quite remember, but I don't know, it just kind of felt like it was taking away from the main plot, and so I wasn't bored with that story, but I was just like, why is this here? There just wasn't a lot of action going on, especially in the first half of the book. The second half of the book, things were definitely picking up. So that is my issue with the pacing. Also, the fact that this is still considered to be a middle grade series, and like this book in particular, and the final two books afterwards, but because this one is so long, it's like, is this really middle grade? Like, I would consider this to be YA, but because the earlier books in the series were middle grade, the whole series is middle grade. So I don't know. I just feel like there's some topics brought up in this book in particular that I feel like are too complex and just like too advanced for middle grade readers. So yeah, I'm definitely going to give this 5 stars. It is Harry Potter after all, and I do think that this is a very important installment in the series. We definitely learn a lot about, you know, the prophecy and just like the story going along and things like that. So with that being said, that's going to be it for my thoughts about this book. I'm definitely really looking forward to reading Half-Blood Prince and the Deathly Hallows in the next coming months. And that's going to be it for this reading vlog. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys would consider pushing that like button and subscribing to my channel, and I thank you in advance if you do. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!